The last 3 weeks for the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of effort and winning has been dreadful. And now apparently Rich Eisen, host of NFL Network and also announcer for that Steelers versus Colts game, said that TJ Watt told him some information about the team that was shocking. So on his podcast just recently, Rich Eisen says that TJ Watt said to him that he could not believe some of his teammates don't ingest the messages that Mike Tomlin preaches to them daily, and that more importantly, TJ Watt does not even think that guys want to show up to practice or practice hard like they need to in order to win the games that they need to win. So, Rich Eisen, here's a direct quote from his podcast. Is he coaching them up? Absolutely. Tomlin is basically going into these meetings and being a dynamic leader and trying to inspire to the point where TJ Watt said it was wild. He used that phrase. It's wild to him that some of the players, upon hearing the message, don't respond in a way on the field or on the practice field. He used that word. He said wild. That some of us don't want to practice is what he said, or want to practice in a way that everyone is supposed to practice. Watt said this past week, everyone did do that, and then you saw the result. Now you can sit there and say Tomlin has got to change his way. TJ Watt also said that the younger generation takes criticism personally. He didn't call it a problem. I just inferred it was. And then you guys see on the field like George Pickens turning down contact on a running play. So those are two different quotes from Rich Eisen kind of put together into one to give you an idea of what TJ Watt said to him. And the reason why TJ Watt probably said this to him is because we all know the star players have meetings with the commentators before the game, so it gives the commentators some extra information to talk about during the game, kind of talk about the stories of some players. That's why we sometimes hear the stories of certain players get talked about, and sometimes just extra information to go along with the game being actually called. So TJ Watt, he probably had a meeting with Rich Eisen and the other commentator of the game, I believe it was Kurt Warner. They probably had a meeting. They probably told him some information, and this was probably said to Rich Eisen, and now he reveals this on his podcast. This did not come up in the game. It only came up on his podcast. But this information is a revealing sentiment for the team and is likely something that Watt will end up following up on during the week when asked about it in the media. And regardless, from Tomlin to TJ Watt to Mick Fitzpatrick, leaders up and down the organization have called out tendencies recently for the Pittsburgh Steelers and players' attitudes. Even more recently, you see Mike Tomlin speaking about the attitudes of players more and more throughout this season than I probably ever seen him talk about it or heard him talk about it before. You heard him say multiple times he had a sit-down meeting with George Pickens. Once again this week, he said he had a great meeting with George Pickens about the blocking and his effort on plays and how it needs to be fixed. He said it recently in other weeks, basically the exact same thing. He had a sit-down meeting with this player, a sit-down meeting with that player. So you see Mike Tomlin mentioning more in the media that he has to have sit-down meetings to fix people's attitudes and make them actually focus on the game. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing if the Steelers want to win football games, because you even have Mick Fitzpatrick recently in the last few weeks. He called out guys too that they do not give the effort that they need to give daily, and they don't give the effort in order to win games, and it's not consistent. So you see multiple guys and the leaders speak up about it, but then when Ben Roethlisberger says, "Is the Steeler way gone?" you have all these media outlets. You have Cameron Heyward saying, what's he talking about? He doesn't know what he's talking about, stuff like that. So when Big Ben says, "Is the Steeler way gone?" that's what he's talking about. Are guys willing to show up, put the effort in, and be consistent and do what it takes to win football games no matter what? And he doesn't think they have it anymore. But then you have other guys like Cameron Heyward come in and say everything's fine, the Steelers way is still here, I don't know what he's talking about, like that. But obviously, if TJ Watt says this, if Mick Fitzpatrick said that recently as well, if Mike Tomlin says that the interviews The sit-down meetings have to happen. Then is the Steeler way still on the team? And do the players respect Mike Tomlin like they once did? So, this year, more than ever, the fans around the NFL world, you've heard it. Is it time for Mike Tomlin to move on from the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is his time in Pittsburgh finally coming to an end? Should the Steelers fire him? Should they trade him to a different team? Should he retire? Is it time for the Steelers to move on? Many fans, many people in my comment section are even saying that Mike Tomlin needs to move on. The Steelers just don't receive Mike Tomlin's messages anymore. He cannot be the coach for this team anymore. He's way past his prime. The offense is falling behind because of him. The team is being destroyed because of him. I've seen those comments, but I've also seen some other comments saying it's not his fault. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Would you want Mike Tomlin to return next season? But let me just talk about this really quickly. Mike Tomlin, what is he known as around the NFL world, around the Steelers world? What is he known as? He's known as a player's coach. What does that mean? The players like him. The players like him as a coach, and he gets to the players because he can relate to them in some sort of way. He's not too hard, and he's kind of being a nice coach. What does that mean? Well, he's not more direct like some coaches are more direct. He's more of a guy who's going to make you laugh. He's more going to be your friend and know you personally and then coach you. And that's his motto. That's kind of what he does. He gets to know you personally. He always says he makes you coach as a player, but also as a person. He wants to know you on and off the field because of that. So he's a player's coach, not just a coach. So what does that mean? Well, why am I talking about this? So his message. If his message is not getting to them and he's being nice about it, maybe it's time to get a coach that's going to be strict about it. Maybe it's time to have a coach if he's not doing it and his message isn't getting through anymore and the players are kind of tuning him out. Maybe they're so used to that message day in and day out. How many times have we heard it when he talks to the media, him say the exact same thing over and over and over again, and nothing changes? Maybe the exact same thing is happening with these players. He's saying the exact same message over and over and over again, and they're just sort of tuning him out because they're so used to it. Whenever he says those few lines, his motto words, maybe those words, those statements just don't come true anymore, and they start tuning that out. When you start hearing the exact same thing over and over again for a few years, or even 10 plus years for some guys who have been on the team, like Cameron Heyward, TJ Watt, other players who have been on the team longer, like 4 years, maybe they're starting to tune him out as well because they heard it day in and day out. And when you hear the exact same message day in and day out and nothing changes, the team is still bad, the offense still does not produce, you start tuning out because why would you listen to something that just has not been working? George Pickens, over the last 2 years, he's probably heard, oh, you're going to get the football more. It's just a quarterback play. The offense needs to be better. You're going to get the ball. You're a playmaker. We're going to get you the football. And then he doesn't get the football and he gets mad because the message that he's receiving is just not coming true. It's not a true message. So when you're being lied to, you start tuning things out. You start playing worse because you're not giving your full effort. And I know that shouldn't happen. No matter what, you guys bring up Heyward all the time, how he gives 100% effort all the time, but that's way past. George Pickens is not Heyward. Heyward is a different type of receiver. He was a physical wide receiver, someone who's willing to block at every single play. And I know you guys want George Pickens to do that, but his body type and him personally, he's just not that type of wide receiver. So maybe him hearing that message from Mike Tomlin day in, day out, he's gonna get the ball, and then he doesn't end up getting it. This year's offense would be better, and it's not better. Maybe now they're just tuning out Mike Tomlin, and him going from a player's coach just isn't working anymore, and he needs to be more strict. Who knows? Does Mike Tomlin need to change his way of coaching to kind of get to these players better? Does he need to stick with it? Who knows? The Steelers just don't seem to be winning football games as of right now. They still have a record of 7-7. If they win out, they have a good chance of making the playoffs. But do they really think they're going to win out? Do we really think they're going to win out? Who knows? The Steelers, I just wanted to bring you this story of TJ Watt telling Rich Eisen about this and Rich Eisen exposing it on his podcast. that the team is kind of tuning out Mike Tomlin. They're not receiving his message anymore. Maybe they don't respect him. Those are my words. Maybe they don't respect him anymore, tuning him out, and they're just not ingesting his message, and they're losing football games. And TJ Watt thinks that they don't even want to show up to practice or practice hard. So, with that being said, let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this topic. Do you believe that the players are tuning out Mike Tomlin? Do you believe that they should listen to him? Obviously, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on this topic of them not practicing hard and tuning him out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for the channel as well, so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video. I cover everything Pittsburgh Steelers, give you all the news and all the reports, film breakdowns, reactions, everything. So turn on notifications, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.